Investigators say they looked into the possibility of foul play due to the controversy surrounding medical marijuana. However, at this point, they tell me that they've tentatively ruled out arson. Zorzakis says he's seen an increase in medical marijuana incidents since storefronts started popping up in 2009. They say they can distinguish between street marijuana and medical marijuana because the students admit that they received it from either friends or family. We're going to help out the Billings PD K-9 unit with a little demonstration. Early Wednesday morning, this roadway was completely clear. But in the course of only a couple of hours, the Yellowstone flooded well above its banks, and residents needed to brave knee-high waters in order to make it to safety. Disabled people face mountains of challenges. Eagle Mount's here to help give them a lift. Governor Schweitzer, Senator Tester, and Chairman Cedric Black Eagle say the problems are readily apparent from the air. Now it's time to head to the ground to sort out an action plan. As we paddled along Highway 12 into Roundup, we saw cars, homes, and businesses buried in water.
We'll get a new building and we'll reopen, but it'll be maybe a month or so.
You don't truly appreciate the devastation of this stuff until it really reaches home. Carlos and I just thought we'd take in the sights. It's not often that we see our town underwater. It's a horrible thing.
It came real quick, so we did our best to get people notified. It was kind of hard to keep ahead of the water for a while.
Disaster and Emergency Services Coordinator Jeff Gates says they don't know exactly how many people are affected. He says they've evacuated 30 to 35 homeowners, but says they won't know the extent of the damage for a few days.
Truthfully, we're just waiting for the water to go down and see what we have.
Catching on the fence there, it's all right.
Coffee kiosk owner Leslie Clark says the damage to her shop is obvious. Her daughter called her at 3 a.m. to tell her the store was in jeopardy.
Mom, the place is gonna flood. Do you want me to go get anything out of it? No, worry about your own house first. Loaded up our vehicles and got what we needed, and we just watched the water rise.
But right now, water isn't the only threat. As I speak, I can smell a strong odor of natural gas. Minutes later, we found the culprit, a propane tank spilling into the water. Emergency responders evacuated onlookers, but we're told it's not the only rogue tank floating around. But residents say they're rallying, offering neighbors a hand and a paddle.
Yeah, if anybody needs a ride, we'll definitely give it to them. If your neighbor's in trouble, please lend them a hand. I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
In Roundup, KyleMidura, Color 8 News.
My one girlfriend said, well, you know you'll never drive again. Well, I said, you don't know me very well. Prove that wrong. I'm driving to this day.
After her husband nearly killed her as part of an attempted murder-suicide in 2005, it took Lori Short 3 years to get back behind the wheel of her car.
I could have just said, forget it, and crawled in a hole, but that's not me. That's not how I was raised.
She's still the same Lori in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways she's not.
A lot of those changes may be subtle, only noticeable to her closest friends. But Lori has successfully worked her way out of the nursing home, assisted living, and into her current apartment. She's hopeful she'll continue to recover.
The first year is where you see the real big, aha stuff. But the fact is that the brain is organically healing for many years after an injury like this.
They're basically trying to get it so I don't have to use a cane anymore. I can just independently get up and walk.
And Lori has set her sights even higher. She wants to strap on her skis again.
In my mind, she won't be able to do some of those things, but that doesn't deter her from doing it.
And that's what allowed her to be able to do some things that otherwise she may have not been able to do.
She doesn't like not working. That has probably bothered her more than anything.
It's pretty boring watching TV day after day after day.
Lori thinks she could go back to work now, but finances stand in the way.
And I'd like to get back to work, but it doesn't pay you to work when you're disabled.
But Lori's convinced she'll make it back eventually. After all, she's succeeded in almost everything she's put her mind to. KyleMidura, Color 8 News. Katie and Greg, this morning the prosecution presented dash cam video that captured the arrest of suspect Bobby Cooksey. It also captured his admission. Roundup's first murder trial in 30 years continued Thursday. 68-year-old Bobby Cooksey is charged with deliberate homicide for the July 2009 shooting death of his neighbor Tracy Beardsley.
Go and have a chat with this person, would you?
Muscle Shell County Sheriff's Deputy Aaron Edwards hit the record button as he arrived on scene.
What's going on?
Before Cooksey was read his Miranda rights, he admitted to deputies that he had shot his neighbor, as heard in this recording. He also directed deputies to the rifle. Jurors also heard the suspect chuckle about the tightness of his handcuffs. He didn't utter another word until he arrived at the jail. Thursday, prosecutors unwrapped the rifle Cooksey shot Beardsley with. Defense attorneys argue Beardsley threatened Cooksey with a knife. Investigators found the Leatherman in its sheath and attached to Beardsley's belt. The defense argues that blood found on the Leatherman proves the victim had it in his hands when he was shot. But state experts disagree.
I don't see any evidence of it coming into contact with skin.
Prosecutors argue the blood seeped onto the knife when the victim's body was transported. Prosecutors expect to wrap up tomorrow. Then it will be the defense's turn to make its case. Katie and Greg, back to you.
Oh, it's a miracle. I mean, I was almost helpless.
Last winter, they were wanting to put her in a nursing home. They said she was failing physically and mentally, and that she needed to be in a facility.
Mabel Macer is 82 years old. At one point, she was taking as many as 17 prescription drugs for pain. Now she just takes her heart medicine and a medical marijuana cocktail twice daily.
Oh my, I thought that was horrible.
I asked her if she'd like to try it, and she said absolutely no. She just threw a fit when I brought the subject up to her.
Top it off. Mabel's quality of life had deteriorated, and after seeing media reports, she went to a traveling clinic.
If I can find something that will make me quit hurting, I'll take it. And that's just what I'm doing.
She said, well, it can't hurt. I certainly can't do any worse.
Mabel says she's far more lucid now that she's off the narcotics. Before, she could barely walk to her door. Now, she walks around the block.
Oh, it's been the difference between night and day. Before, she could not even think about doing that.
But Mabel's primary care physician expressed concern that medical marijuana would complicate her conditions. In a letter to Mabel, he said if she continued marijuana use, he would have no choice but to dismiss her from his practice.
It is a major challenge for patients around the state to find a physician willing to recommend. Unfortunately, a number of physicians in the state are restricted from providing a recommendation to their normal patients because of where they're currently employed.
Mabel says she's just happy to be herself again. KyleMidura, Color 8 News.